The Department of Justice orders the nullification of the property lease agreement between the Bureau of Customs and TADECO. Malacanang clarifies President Rodrigo Duterte's statement on lobby money following Commission on Appointments rejection of former Environment Secretary Gina Lopez. President Rodrigo Duterte changes Benham rice to Philippine rice. The Senate of the Philippines approves measure to institute a 5-year driver's license validity. The Department of Transportation pushes for stricter enforcement of the road speed limit law. Y News begins now.
From the UNTV News and Rescue Command Center, this is Y News with Darlene Basingan.
Good evening. Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre has recommended to President Rodrigo Duterte to nullify the contract between the Bureau of Corrections and TADECO. Nel Maribuhok will tell us why.
The House Committee on Good Government and Accountability has begun the investigation on the allegedly anomalous contract between the Bureau of Corrections and the Tagum Agricultural Development Company or TADECO. House Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez, however, says the said contract is anomalous. Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre also believes so and orders the Bucor to act on the matter.
The best and the fastest way is for the President to cancel this contract.
Alvarez believes the said contract puts the government at the disadvantage. He says that TADECO should give the government 106 million pesos based on the existing list rate, which is 25,000 pesos per hectare. This is far cry from 26.5 million peso annual share stated in the controversial contract. Alvarez also argued that TADECO's supposed share to Bucor for the sale of bananas at 1 peso and 80 centavos is unfair. It also violates the Constitution, says Alvarez, who also notes that the contract that took effect since 1969 goes beyond the 50-year limitation. The House Speaker also says the land rented by TADECO has already exceeded the allowed 1,000 hectares. TADECO, meanwhile, argues several administrations had already reviewed and approved the said agreement. It also noted it has already given hundreds of millions of pesos to Bucor since last year.
Last year in 2016, TADECO actually paid the Bucor a total of 142,719,662 pesos. This is in the records and receipted by Bureau.
Are you talking of the rental?
Oh, I see what you mean. Yes, sir. Yeah, going back to the rental.
Okay.
Rental.
So, I think it's clear that it's not really a JVA. It's not a joint venture agreement. It's a rental.
The House Speaker notes that joint agreement entered into by Bucor can be considered a leased agreement which need to undergo bidding process.
Basically to justify siguro yung walang bidding yung award ng contract, no?
The committee will resume the investigation on the issue and afterwards will release a recommendation on who should be held liable for the allegedly anomalous transaction. TADECO is owned by the family of Davao del Norte Representative Antonio Florendo. It can be noted that House Speaker Alvarez filed a graft complaint against Florendo last March. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
The Bureau of Internal Revenue, or BIR, has filed another tax evasion complaint against cigarette maker Mighty Corporation. The complaint is based on the discovery of fake tax stamps on over 80 million packs of Mighty cigarettes at 2 warehouses owned by the company in San Ildefonso, Bulacan last March. The BIR is running after the company for almost 27 billion pesos. Last March, the BIR filed a 9.5 billion peso tax suit against Mighty Corporation for a similar offense. Malacanang clarifies President Rodrigo Duterte's statement on what he called lobby money on the rejection of the Commission on Appointments to the confirmation of former Environment Secretary Gina Lopez. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
Sayang si Gina. I really like her passion, but you know how it is. This is a democracy. And lobby money talks. I do not control everything. I am the head of the executive department, the president. So hindi ko na taga-kontrolado ang lahat. Gusto ko. May mga tao ako na gusto ko, pero I share powers. And that is the process of checks and balances.
This was the statement of President Rodrigo Duterte a day after the Commission on Appointments rejected Gina Lopez confirmation as Environment Secretary on May 4, 2017. Because of this, a lawmaker suggested to investigate this lobby money in the Commission on Appointments. However, Malacanang said that this statement was clarified by the President himself during the 15th Cabinet meeting in Malacanang yesterday.
The President did say last night that when he said lobby, it's not necessarily money. He clarified himself, but he said basically that lobby is a legal thing that you can actually exercise in order to persuade one's particular position.
The lobby the President is referring to was the legitimate process of encouraging or influencing parties.
It wasn't financial exchange, not necessarily financial exchange, but that there was a lobby. In other words, ano tawag nito? Persuasion.
Legitimate pressure.
Legitimate pressure from interested parties. Siyempre, it's all in general, hindi ba?
Meanwhile, Malacanang guarantees the trust of President Duterte to his appointment of retired General Roy Cimatu as the new Environment Secretary, especially on balancing the issues of protecting the environment and allowing mining operations.
He said that he felt that this General Cimatu was extraordinarily gifted for the task of balancing environmental concerns with mining operations concerns.
Rosa Licoz, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
Former DENR Secretary Gina Lopez bears all emotion on the program Get It Straight with Daniel Razon after an unsuccessful bid at the Commission on Appointments. Daniel Razon will tell us why.
Okay, ma'am, let's get it straight. Wala ba kayo naisip dating strategy kagaya nung sinasabi ng iba? Sana hindi muna daw kayo nagbabanat, pinabayaan nyo munang ma-appoint kayo, tsaka na lang kayo bumanat. Hindi nyo ba naisip din yun?
Naisip ko din yun, pero nakita ko din na, kasi in the first hearing, nakita ko that, how the unpredictability of politics, people that are so nice, then they change.
Yes,
so inisip ko, since it's so unsure, hindi sigurado, lahat ang dapat gawin,
Gawin nyo na kagad, no?
Kung hindi ako ma-appoint, at least nagawa ko na.
President Duterte said he would like for Gina to continue, but added that there are forces working against her appointment.
Sayang si Gina. I really like her passion, but you know how it is. This is a democracy. And lobby money talks.
Surprisingly, allies of the president voted against Gina Lopez's confirmation on Senator Lacson's statement that Lopez was not qualified and had authoritarian tendencies. Lopez has this to say.
He was the rehab czar. And then we were able to address the poverty in the areas, and I did really well. Tapos sinasabi mo, hindi ako fit because I stood by the Constitution without fear, because I followed the Constitution. Any kind of extractive industry which will damage our water resource, there's no negotiation there. What do you want me to do? Don't negotiate. If it's wrong, it's wrong. You're putting the lives of the people there at risk, and it is against the Philippine Constitution. It's really wrong.
Senator Cayetano, on the other hand, voted against Lopez due to Lopez's non-adherence to due processes. This was strongly opposed by Lopez.
Just behave.
How do you want them to behave?
Stop it, Just think for the common good instead of business interest.
Exactly.
Being plastic is bad. Okay? Don't be a hypocrite. It's wrong.
Tsaka plastic actually destroys the environment. Diba?
After being left hanging, Lopez still hopes to get to talk with the president.
I texted Bongo several times.
Anong sinetext nyo kay Bong? Nangihingi kayo appointment?
Yeah. Bong! Can you...
Para...
3 exclamation points. Show this one to the president anyway.
Midway to the interview, a live report happening at the DENR showed supporters of the former secretary shackled at the gates. A group from Greenpeace protested for the reinstatement of Lopez. In the exchange of messages of support, Lopez became emotional.
Yeah, I love you guys. Yeah, thank you so much. I'm like really deeply touched. Yeah.
Support for Lopez in street protest and social media have given rise for calls for Lopez to run for public office, to perhaps continue her advocacies.
I don't like. Ang gulo, no?
Ayaw nyo
Yeah, I'll get bored. Because I don't like, even when I was chairman of ABS, I get bored in the office. My passion's really on field.
With all the trials laden at work, it would seem that Lopez has gone through enough. But she added that she was once sick with cancer.
You know, I had cancer this year. Yeah, and then I cured myself, no? I mean, I had, because through
you're
herbals.
over it already.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, totally over. I didn't tell anyone until I was cured.
On a vote of 16-8, the Commission on Appointments effectively clipped Lopez's wings. And her dream? Her real passion.
Miss Gina Lopez in the house!
Makes me happy.
And her plans for the DENR. Had her appointment been approved?
Yeah, we're gonna start a grassroots movement. Not movement like advocacy, for area development. Yeah, so everyone can get involved. If you think small, if you will dream small. If you dream small, you will do small. So you should think you are.
So kaya gusto mo yan? kaya pala yan.
Yeah, that's why I believe I can fly like you're, you know, like you should never think you're small. You can.
Ayan, di ba?
You can.
Alam mo yung
Because I tell the people, maliit ba kayo? Hindi. Bakit? May Diyos sa loob nyo. So never think small. You can do anything, be anything.
Clearly, the former secretary of the DENR, Gina Lopez, is not about to give up her dream. She still believes that she'd be given another chance to once again fly.
I believe I can touch the sky. Woo! I think about it every night and you sing one song. Spread my wings and fly away.
Daniel Razon, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Senator Bam Aquino has filed a resolution before the Commission on Appointments, or CA, to review the procedures of secret balloting as a manner of voting for the confirmation of presidential appointees. This is in response to the recent controversial voting of CA that resulted to the rejection of the ad interim appointment of former Department of Environment and Natural Resources Secretary Gina Lopez. Aquino clarifies the investigation does not aim to disclose the details of votes of CA members, but just to ensure that there is accountability in the results of votes, especially when he believes that somebody lied about their votes. Aquino adds the issue of lobby money can also be discussed if CA members would like to delve on the matter.
Ako kasi ang tingin ko yung transparency and accountability mahalaga at yung boto namin sa kahit anumang batas, kahit anumang desisyon, yan yung rason kung bakit kami nandito eh. Diba? So I think it's important we push for transparency.
The first impeachment complaint against President Rodrigo Duterte is now ready for deliberation. Leslie Longbowen will tell us why.
This afternoon, the House plenary referred the first impeachment complaint against President Duterte to the Committee on Justice. This means that the complaint will now be ready for the deliberation of the committee. However, the series of hearings could be delayed due to the upcoming budget season and State of the Nation address of the President. Among the firm supporters of the impeachment complaint against Duterte is Albay Representative Edsel Lagman.
The complaint is sufficient both in substance as well as in form, and the committee must conduct the hearing as mandated by the Constitution.
Meanwhile, House Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez is open to the filing of impeachment complaint against Vice President Leni Robredo if he gets convinced with its content filed by the Impeach Leni movement.
Wala naman akong sinasabi na na talagang magpa-file ako. 'Di ba? Kaya sabi ko noon, pag-aaralan ko. Ngayon, kung meron namang substance, bakit hindi?
The House Speaker also confirms that the Volunteers Against Crime and Corruption or VACC is convincing him to endorse the impeachment complaint against Ombudsman Conchita Carpio Morales.
Totoo yan, pinapa-endorso nila sa akin. Kaya lang, sabi ko nga, pag-aaralan ko rin niyang mabuti.
It can be recalled that VACC had also planned to file an impeachment complaint against Morales for the alleged delay of the resolution to some cases such as the Mama Sapano encounter in January 2015. Leslie Longbowen, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
The Supreme Court, sitting as a Presidential Electoral Tribunal, has ordered the Commission on Elections to submit an itemized cost it may be required to pay under the automated elections. This is for the election machines, which will be kept by the poll body for the duration of the recount in relation to the election protest of former Senator Bongbong Marcos against Vice President Leni Robredo. Meanwhile, Robredo asked the tribunal to strike out the motion filed by Marcos, which sought to junker counter-protests. The High Tribunal has set the case for a preliminary conference on June 21. Senator Bam Aquino urges the Philippine government to grant the request of the United Nations to investigate the alleged cases of extrajudicial killings in the country amid the war on drugs. This after 45 member states of the United Nations recommended a universal periodic review on the killings in the country under the Duterte administration. The recommendation came despite presentation of the Philippine delegation headed by Senator Alan Cayetano that killings are not state-sponsored and the country is addressing issues of human rights violations.
Siguro wake-up call na talaga yan sa atin na naghahanap ang buong mundo ng accountability on our part. So, if the request is to have a formal investigation happen, we should grant that request. Kung wala naman tinatago ang ating bayan, dapat payagan natin na magkaroon ng investigasyon dito.
Motorists will soon enjoy a longer validity period of their driver's license. Joyce Balancio will tell us why.
The Senate Committee on Public Services has approved a bill seeking for the extension of driver's license validity to 5 years from the current 3 years. Committee Chair Senator Grace Poe said no senator objected the measure during its first and last hearing today. Poe adds while the Land Transportation Office or LTO is already implementing this through an executive order, a law should still be passed to sustain this.
Bakit natin kailangan gawing batas? Unang-una, para hindi magpalit ang isip ng LTO. Kasi kung executive lang yan, decision, pag nag-iba na yung isip o kaya may ibang administrasyon, maaaring palitan.
During the hearing earlier, LTO said they have been addressing the many backlogs in the license applications. The 526 million peso fund allotted to them will be used to start the issuance of the 5-year validity licenses starting this October. The LTO also boasted of the added security features of the new cards to ensure that these will not be duplicated or tampered.
In our new 5-year driver's license cards, the barcode contains the picture, the photo, the biometrics or the thumb and index fingerprints of the driver's license, of the driver, the history of the personal circumstances of the driver.
LTO clarifies that there will be no additional fees or charges to motorists. Meanwhile, Senator Grace Poe has asked the LTO to implement reforms in the system, especially on the application and examination for professional licenses.
Nakita natin, kaya pala lahat pumapasa or halos pumapasa lahat kasi pala may kodiko pala lahat. Sabi ko, mag-ingat kayo kasi pupuntahan ko na yung mga LTO offices para masiguro na walang cheating.
The latest senator hopes to finish the committee report and sponsor the measure on the floor next week. Meanwhile, in the lower house, the measure is still being studied by a technical working group under the Committee on Transportation. Joyce Balancio, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
The Department of Transportation is now pushing for the stricter implementation of the road speed limit law. Joanna will tell us why.
The speed limit law states that vehicles plying on highways and national roads are allowed only at a speed limit of 50 to 80 kilometers per hour, while those plying on local roads should maintain speed at 30 kilometers per hour. And those passing through streets, such as schools and hospital zones, should maintain speed at 20 kilometers per hour. The recent study says the Philippines is among the countries in the world lax in enforcement of road speed limit. Based on the 2015 Global Stats Report on Road Safety, the Philippines only got the rate of 5 out of 10 in terms of law enforcement. Cases of road crashes in the country continue to rise from 2013 until 2015. According to the statistics of the PNP Highway Patrol Group, the number of road crashes increased to more than 24,000 in 2015 from more than 12,000 in 2013. For this reason, the Transportation Department is pushing for the stricter enforcement of the speed limit law, especially on public utility vehicles.
Yung public transport is hindi mo pwedeng sabihin na it's just a hanap buhay. Kailangan ikaw naghahanap buhay, you will also ensure that buhay yung mga pasahero na iyong transport.
Quezon City is among the major areas in Metro Manila with wide roads, and local government vows to strictly impose the law.
As far as national roads are concerned, especially Commonwealth Avenue, we have the 60 kilometer per hour speed limit as imposed by the Metro Manila Development Authority, or MMDA. That's one. Then for other city streets and barangay roads, we have the traffic management ordinance of the city.
Currently, DOTR is in close coordination with the local government units on the procurement of additional speed measurement devices, speed limit signs, and deployment of additional traffic law enforcers towards stringent implementation of the road speed limit law. The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority fines 1,200 to 2,000 pesos for overspeeding. Joanna, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
President Rodrigo Duterte took time to talk to farmers who have been in Mendiola for weeks now. Rosalie Cos is at Mendiola in Manila to tell us why live. Go ahead, Rosalie.
Good evening, Darlene. Around 200 farmers of the Madaum Agrarian Reform beneficiaries, together with farm worker cooperatives and organizations, camped out in Mendiola since May 1. This is to appeal to President Rodrigo Duterte to intervene and order the Lapanday Food Corporation to follow the order of the government and turn over the supposed lands for the agrarian beneficiaries. After the Philippine Navy headquarters event, the President went straight here to Mendiola to talk to the farmers personally. The President ordered Agrarian Secretary Rafael Mariano to make sure the rule of law is followed when implementing the order of giving the lands to the beneficiaries.
Kung ano yung nasa batas, kung makumpleto yung requirements ng batas, ako na mismo ang nagsasabi kay Secretary Mariano, go ahead. Ayaw na pagdugay-dugay. Go ahead. Para matapos ang problema ng gulo at patayan.
145 out of 1,000 hectares of the banana plantation are supposed to be for the beneficiaries based on the land reform program of the government in 1996. However, Lapanday does not heed to the order and instead applied for a temporary restraining order and writ of preliminary injunction to the Court of Appeals to undermine the cease and desist order of DAR. The court, however, denied the application. The corporation also deployed a number of security guards to barricade the banana plantation. President Duterte also criticized some courts.
Kayong mga korte, nandiyan niya palagi ang TRO ninyo, hindi nakagalaw ang gobyerno. Huwag ninyong gawin yan kasi mabaho na style yan. Do not allow people to go around for shopping for a court. Hanggang ngayon, ilang taon na yan? Almost 50 years. 100 years sa abot yan sa mga pribado akong kamay.
In the end, President Duterte promised that the government will do everything to provide the farmers what is due them. He also promised them to pay for their fare going back to Davao del Norte.
Sana ito na ang simula sa aming kahirapan na makatrabaho namin sa aming area. So almost 7 years na po yung wala naming trabaho. So pagbalik namin bukas, sana wala nang mahadlang sa lapanday sa amin. Tuloy-tuloy na ito. Maraming pong salamat Presidente Duterte.
Right now, Darlene, these farmers have to spend another night here at Menjola, and they are not yet sure when will they be able to come back to Davao del Norte. That is our latest report live here from Mendiola. Back to you, Darlene.
Thank you, Rosalie Cos, reporting live from Mendiola, Manila. Next on Y News. The Department of Labor and Employment warns against employers collecting illegal cash bonds. And Meralco customers to enjoy reduction in electricity charges this month. Y News will be right back. The Philippine National Police is now looking into the possibility that the bomber in Quiapo explosion was at the vicinity during the time of the blast. Grace Casin will tell us why.
Suspicion namin baka mamaya yung trigger man ng bomba nandoon lang sa vicinity. Siniguro talaga niya na hand over yung bomba na ipasok doon sa establishmento bago niya tinrigger.
This is among the angles being looked into by the Philippine National Police in line with the twin bombings last Saturday night in Quiapo that left 2 civilians dead. The PNP notes that even the second explosion at the area was also carefully planned.
Nung siguro na-realize nila na hindi yung intended target ang nasabugan o wala dyan sa area yung nasabugan, may ready sila na sekundary na nilagay doon sa bubong.
The Explosive Ordnance Disposal Unit is now determining the type of bomb and the triggering device used in the blast.
Yung EOD expert, sila ngayon yung magre-reconstruct nung IED, yung improvised explosive device, and look on how it was triggered, whether it's electronically through a cell phone or a 9-volt battery or other power source.
The PNP already has the name of the sender of the package through the service of Grab Bike. The authorities are determining its legitimacy. The PNP refused to divulge the details on the matter while the investigation is ongoing. Meanwhile, the Manila Police District will hold a dialogue with Muslim leaders to urge them to cooperate for the immediate resolution of the case. The incident has prompted the Senate to create an oversight committee that will investigate on how the PNP, AFP, and other law enforcement units spend their respective intelligence funds.
We're the minority, one of the minority representatives in that oversight committee. We'll support the chairman, Senator Honasan, in his investigations of the intelligence funds. Mahalagang malaman natin na maayos nga yung paggamit ng ating intelligence funds. Ito'y, of course, pera ng bayan, pera yan ng taong bayan, and secondly, hindi po yan under COA.
Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue. Come, krame.
A senator is keen on investigating the secret jail discovered inside the Manila Police District. Joyce Balancho will tell us why.
Senator Bam Aquino filed a resolution to investigate the secret jail discovered inside the Manila Police Station as well as the alleged maltreatment of prisoners. Early today, the senator invited in his office NCRPO Director Police Chief Superintendent Oscar Albayalde to ask for the latter's cooperation on the upcoming probe.
Maging malinaw sila kung ano yung tama at mali, wag nilang pagtakpan yung mga mali at magkaroon ng aksyon, no? Hindi lang yung papalampasin lang tapos parang wala na lang. Hinahanap natin sa PNP yung tamang response.
Senator Aquino says the hearing aims to clarify the discrepancies in the findings of the Commission on Human Rights as well as the statements of Manila Police and the prisoners. The Senate probe will also delve into the alleged human rights violations and the proposed reforms to the system. For his part, the NCRPO chief says they will attend the hearing and has guaranteed Senator Aquino that they will not tolerate any wrongdoing of the police.
Satisfied naman sila doon sa reaction ng PNP, no, na talagang pinaimbestiga, and I think they believe us that when we said na we will not tolerate those kinds of actions ng ating mga kapulisan. Kung talagang meron silang kasalanan, kailangan silang maparusahan.
While they have talked about many issues concerning the police, Albayalde says they have also asked support from the senator.
Well, unang-una yung sa war on drugs natin, no? Yung how they can help us, probably yung kung paano din makatulong at sila makatulong sa mga rehabilitation facilities, yung mga how we can expand our detention cells, how we can improve yung aming mga police stations.
Senator Aquino's resolution is already referred to the Committee on Public Order, and they're eyeing to set the first hearing before Senate suspends session in June. Joyce Balancio, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
The Department of Labor and Employment, or DOLE, has warned anew against employers collecting illegal cash bonds from their employees. The warning came following a complaint DOLE received from a maintenance worker claiming his salary is being deducted as contribution for cash bond. DOLE explains collection of cash bond is not illegal in all business establishments. It is applicable, DOLE notes, in industries like jewelry. It is also allowed only if authorized by Union of Workers or the Secretary of DOLE. The Labor Department explains salary deductions for cash bonds is prohibited under its non-interference in the disposal of wages and allowable deductions advisory. Under the advisory, no employer is allowed to deduct salaries of its employees except when the purpose for such is stated under the exemptions cited by law. The Senate has passed in the second reading the proposed extension of the validity of Philippine passport. No senator voted against the Senate Bill number 1356, sponsored by Senator Cynthia Villar. Under the proposed law, the validity of regular passports will be extended to 10 years, while that of minors will remain at 5 years. Senator Villar explains the passage of the bill will greatly help Filipino overseas workers who normally work for longer years abroad. Meanwhile, its counterpart bill has already been passed in the lower house in February. The incoming Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, Deputy Governor Nestor Espinilla Jr., vows to continue implementing the strong and strict policies of the institution. Monokson will tell us why.
Newly appointed BSP Deputy Governor Nestor Espinilla Jr. is determined to prevent factors what would damage the integrity of country's financial system. One approach the new BSP chief will do is to strengthen the Anti-Money Laundering Council.
Continuing what we have been doing in our constant surveillance of the monetary and financial system to make sure that it is resilient and stable.
Espinilla also vows to support the economic agenda being pushed by the Duterte administration. The new central bank deputy governor says he is open to create new policies if there is a need to maintain the current financial system of the country.
We're also very interested in reshaping our financial system so that it is going to be more responsive to the broader economy. And this is really where
Espinilla has expressed gratitude to his mentor and outgoing BSP Governor Amando Tetanco. He says the BSP has remained strong because of the excellent management of Tetanco. Espinilla will replace Tetanco in July this year. Mon Hocson, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Following a 3-day expedition, President Rodrigo Duterte orders to change the name Benham Rice to Philippine Rice. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
President Rodrigo Duterte wants to give emphasis on the country's ownership of the Plateau Benham rice. Thus, he immediately ordered to change its name to Philippine Rice after Agriculture Secretary Emmanuel Piñol presented to him the result of the recent expedition in the area. Benham Rice is a 25-hectare underwater region about 160 nautical miles from the offshore of Aurora Province. In his Facebook page, Secretary Piñol explained that Benham Rice was believed to have been named by an American surveyor after U.S. Navy Admiral Andrew Ellicott Kennedy Benham, a Navy officer who lived from 1832 to 1905. Recent reports say that Chinese vessels have been spotted in the area for almost 3 months, allegedly conducting research. The Department of Foreign Affairs has already filed a protest on the matter. Divers who came with the expedition say corals have already piled up underwater.
It was exceptionally clear. The only other dive site I've seen as clear was Tubata. So ganun siya kalinaw, ibig sabihin may malinis yung tubig.
The Secretary previously mentioned that the department would like to build a structure in the area that will serve as monitoring station and shelter for fishermen. Radars may also be put up for the purpose of weather forecasting.
Maski pa magpatayo tayo ng 5 bilyong pisong struktura sa gitna ng Benham Rise, that will still be a drop in the bucket compared to what we are losing every year.
DA also wants to declare Benham Rise as a special food production area and eventually prohibits any exploration for oil and other minerals. Ray Pilayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Public Works Secretary Mark Villar says he's ready to prove that he deserves the position given to him by President Rodrigo Duterte. Roby de Guzman will tell us why.
Many have criticized the appointment of Mark Villar as the Secretary of the Department of Public Works and Highways, or DPWH. After his appointment, issues surfaced that his family's business might affect his decisions as the head of the DPWH. In an exclusive interview on the program Get It Straight with Daniel Rizon, Villar has this to say.
Actually, this is the most, ang DPWH, the pinaka-scrutinized na department eh. So, wala. Clearly, yung wala kaming, actually, mas nakakasama pa sa nego kasi wala na eh. Hindi na kami
Saka you have to be very careful.
We have to be mas careful ako.
Villar says the DPWH has already laid down its plans to attain the promises of the government in terms of infrastructure development and of addressing traffic congestion in Metro Manila and provinces across the country.
Para walang nangyayari sa traffic eh. Well, may plano na actually, kaya the first few months gumawa na kami ng master plan for the whole Luzon. So, katulad ng NLEX-SX connector dito sa Metro Manila, yung bridges across the Pasig River, yun po ay sisimulan na. And I think pag tinatanong ako, sinasabi ko, give us 2 to 3 years.
Villar also notes the government allocated 450 billion pesos to the DPWH, the highest budget allocation in the department's history. The Public Works and Highways Secretary says he sees the promised change of the Duterte administration within 2 to 3 years.
You'll see the beginnings of may pangarap kami yung Luzon Spine Expressway Network. Yun ang a series of 18 expressways. Yung iba existing na, yung iba pasimula pa lang, pero this year sisimulan na namin yung mga pending, this year next year sisimulan na namin para ma-connect ang northernmost, yung La Union, all the way to Bicol. At now, meron tayong 350 kilometers of high standard highway. By the end of the administration, halos madodoble yan.
And since his parents are veteran politicians, Villar says he always follows their advice.
Well, he never yung mistakes niya dati, but he said that definitely with regards to yung kay Presidente, yung utos ni Presidente na hindi talaga pwede yung corruption. Kailangan zero tolerance tayo sa corruption.
Roby de Guzman, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Good news to Metro Manila and nearby residents. Meralco announces a reduction in power rates this month. Monokson will tell us why.
Yung biggest contributor sa reduction ngayong buwan ay yung pagbaba ng generation charge. Tapos yung sa pagbaba naman ng generation charge, yung charges from the IPPs and the power supply agreements both went down.
Meralco power rates will go down by 29 centavos per kilowatt hour this month despite the high electricity demand due to the hot weather. The reduction in electricity rates is prompted by the lower generation charge caused by the cheaper sale of electricity at the spot market. This translates to a reduction of 58 pesos in the electricity bills of households consuming 200 kilowatts a month. Households consuming 300 kilowatt a month will save 87 pesos in their electricity bills, 116 pesos for those consuming 400 kilowatt a month, and 145 pesos for households with 500 kilowatts monthly power consumption. The additional charge of Meralco due to the Malampaya shutdown will also end this May. Next month, customers can expect lower power rates if the electricity supply and the peso to dollar exchange rate will remain stable.
Of course, may posibilidad na since wala na yun, na magkaroon ng downward adjustment for next month. Pero hindi pa rin tayo nakakasiguro dahilan sa we will need to wait for the final billing for all the suppliers and what the other factors that will come into play ngayong May supply month. No?
Meralco assures the public of sufficient power supply until the end of this summer months. Meralco urges the public to continue conserving electricity despite the drop in power rates. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasig City.
Doing good knows no time and place. That's what volunteers in Canada consider in joining the Meals on Wheels program. Fatima Tumang will tell us why.
Volunteers from UNTV and Members Church of God International joined the program Meals on Wheels in Winnipeg, Canada to reach out to citizens who need special care, such as the elderly and persons with disabilities. Meals on Wheels is a non-profit organization that delivers nutritious meals to senior citizens and vulnerable members of the Winnipeg area.
Because a lot of our clients really have no one, that they know in the city, or they have no relatives, or their families moved out of the city. We are a social contact for them.
Meals on Wheels offers hot and cold meals depending on the customer's wish. According to the program's executive director in Winnipeg, assistance from the volunteers of MCGI and UNTV is a great help for them in delivering meals to their clients.
I just wanted to thank the wonderful volunteers, Brother Ellie, Brother Daniel, and the rest of your group, because they do a tremendous service for us, and we're so grateful to have them as part of the organization.
Thank you so much, and we appreciate you volunteering with us.
In the second year of UNTV and MCGI Winnipeg chapter on Meals on Wheels, the volunteers hope to reach more people and places in the coming years. Fatima Tumang for Serbisyong Kasangbahay.
Those are the reasons behind the news May 9, 2017. Reasons we delivered to you as they unfold. I'm Darlene Basingan. Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Thank you for watching Why News.